Guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite movies. Hey guys, what's up? The Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite movies, and today I'm going to be doing a horror film review. Because it's Halloween, and as per tradition, I talk about a horror film or multiple horror films in on Halloween, or it's actually October 30th in America right now, but in the rest of the world, it's October 31st. It's Halloween, so let's get spooky. So, the horror film I'm going to be reviewing today is Pulse, or Kaido, which is a 2001 Japanese film written and directed by the one and only Kurosawa Kiyoshi. Now, this is the same director who I have to show this off every time I talk about him, but he is the director who wrote and directed Cure, which is a film I saw a few years ago. Absolutely loved it. It is like a non-horror film because it's mostly a murder mystery, but there's something so entrancing, hypnotic, dark, and disturbing about this film that not a single other film is, in my opinion. So this is fantastic. But I've never really talked about how I found out about Cure and how I eventually fell in love with this film. So, a few years ago, a Korean YouTuber by the name of Speakima Movies made an amazing video essay on what he thinks is the scariest scene of all times. That scene is from Pulse, and because of Pulse, I found out about Cure, and that's how I watched the film Cure. But Pulse has been a film on my watch list since a long time ago, but I never got the chance to watch it until earlier this month. I was like, hey, it's Halloween, it's October, spooky Spooktober, I have to see Pulse. So I was like, okay, let's do it. So 2 a.m., all by myself, about 2-3 weeks ago, I watched Pulse. And wow, it was amazing. Now, before Pulse though, I would like to say that after watching Pulse, I also saw two more films from Kurosawa Kiyoshi, Cloud and Chime, back-to-back double feature, with Kurosawa Kiyoshi himself showing up for a Q&A at the Aero Theater at Santa Monica, which was amazing. And more and more, I am appreciating and admiring Kurosawa Kiyoshi's style. And on top of that, he also made a ton of other films, especially films with one-word titles are literally the best: Charisma, Seance, Creepy, Retribution, Tokyo Sonata, and the double two halves of Serpent's Path and Eye of the Spider. So obviously he is a director who is criminally underrated and needs a lot of attention. But his two most famous films is Cure and Pulse. And here is my distinction between these two films. If Cure is a blunt, blood-stained machete knife, then Pulse is a wet, soggy pile of paper scraps. And I know that doesn't seem that impressive, but in my opinion, Pulse is much scarier than Cure. Maybe not as violent as Cure, but much more haunting. And it's not a film for everyone. It is almost a slow burn. It's slow enough to hypnotize you, but it's not too slow, so you're always on the edge. You're always noticing that something's going wrong. And this film doesn't have a tight pacing, and it doesn't need to. This film doesn't have fleshed out characters with clear motives and backstory because it doesn't need to. This entire film banks on this looming sense of threat, this strange, creeping anxiety in the back. It's a feeling. A lot of people go into the film hoping that it would be nothing but scares and jump scares and scary ghosts, but it's more than that. It's slowly seeping into your mind. Now, this film is about a group of young adults, or several young adults, trying to figure out a mystery in the internet where a lot of weird things happen, and I don't want to spoil it. I really wish that everyone could go into Pulse as blind as possible, but to give you a simple premise, Pulse is about a group of young adults trying to figure out a mystery in the internet. And that's all I'm going to say. And then it just turns into something else by the end. Now, this film has two major themes. One is that this film comments on the rise of the internet and is very much part of the Heisei internet anxiety movement. In the late 90s and early 2000s, there are a lot of there are a lot of Japanese horror and thriller films and TV shows about the internet and how fucking scary it is because when the internet first appeared, it is a major clash against the normally traditional and conservative social values that I think a lot of Japanese society has in the 80s and 90s. And it's just this strange new invention. And it's very interesting to me that Japan is one of the few film industries that reacted so strongly to the rise of the internet, because internet is a huge deal, and I think the internet revolutionized media in general in every culture and every film industry in the world. But again, Heisei internet anxiety, some of the other works within this movement include Serial Experiments Lane, All About Lily Shushu, which I also have on Blu-ray, as well as freaking Evangelion and Love and Pop. So the other even more pressing issue here being explored is loneliness. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand, a lot of non-East Asians don't understand how dreadfully gripping loneliness is, and how different is East Asian loneliness and any other kinds of loneliness, especially in America. I don't know why, but everyone in America has this, or Americans in general have this culture of, oh, we're all Americans, so we're all one big family. So, especially in LA, strangers would just walk up to you and talk to you on the streets. That's not how it works in other parts of the world, especially East Asia, where people are more segregated into their own communities and people are forced to be quiet and complicit and conformist. So loneliness becomes such a huge issue and becomes the source of so much mental illness and pain and suffering, and Pulse just hits that right on the nail. This film is about isolation and the internet being an alternate dimension where you can isolate yourself, but the internet also being a mystery, a black hole, a force of evil that slowly hypnotizes you and sucks you in. It's so absolutely fascinating. This film is half horror mystery, half an art house film. There is, honestly, in terms of editing and cinematography, this film is really solid, but honestly, the art house aspect of it is completely carried by its narrative. The story is so restrained and confusing, yet it just lurks in the back of your mind. And I am entranced. I feel like I'm in a trance when I'm watching Pulse. There are mainly two storylines. One follows a group of friends who are trying to evade a mysterious illness, and the other storyline is a guy trying to figure out how to use the internet. But these two storylines intertwine and sort of join together at the end, and there is a weird threat looming against these characters, and no one knows what this threat is, why there is this such threat. So two things about Pulse that makes this such a haunting experience for me. One is that it is ambiguous. One huge issue I have with American horror films is that they try to explain the scary, but the thing is, if you explain it, it's not that scary anymore. And J-horror films understood the assignment, and they made the scary ambiguous. We don't understand why. Even at the end of the film, we don't understand why any of the things happened. Even though we do have more clarity, but we never truly get the answer. And that's fucking beautiful. The other thing is the characters are in active pursuit of the truth. Instead of characters getting scared and running for their lives throughout the entire film. The characters here actually do something to advance the plot forward, making this film feel like an active pursuit of something. But the more they pursue this, the more dangerous and dark it gets. There are a lot of death scenes in this film, but you kind of can't tell if they're actual deaths or not, which makes it worse, honestly, when someone exists between life and death. But these death scenes, or quote unquote death scenes, get more and more gruesome and ridiculous as the film progresses. And that leads to the ending, which is so unbelievable. It's so out of pocket. It's so insane. I actually admire the ending a lot. It's like the final nail in the coffin. That is the insanity of the logic in this world. Now, of course, we have the iconic lady ghost walking scene. That scene is horrifying, sure. But I think it gets really tense when the character looks under the sofa or the couch and you're sort of waiting for a jump scare and it doesn't happen. And then now you're waiting for the next shot because now you're even scared of the next shot in that scene. But I think the scene that haunted me the most isn't even that scary, but it just happens. Somebody, quote unquote, disappears instantly out of thin air. That shit was haunting. So, yeah, Pulse is a fantastic film, and I highly recommend everyone to check it out. It is not for everyone. It is not for the faint of hearts. It is a very intellectual horror film. It's a film that needs you to think. But even more importantly, it needs you to feel. It's a very feeling-based horror film. And just sit back, relax, and just enjoy the very confusing and dark ride that is Pulse. I'm giving Kurosawa Kiyoshi's Pulse a strong 9 out of 10. So, have you watched Pulse? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.